Every year, millions of devotees gather in Odisha for the Rath Yatra. It is a massive procession dedicated to Lord Jagannath, creating an atmosphere charged with intense spiritual energy and collective faith. The physical epicenter of this holy protection is the route winding directly from the Jagannath temple. For those within the boundaries of the procession, it feels like an impenetrable sanctuary of joy and safety. During the 2023 festival, 4 local friends, Avinash, Prakhar, Dharam, and Ritu, decided they needed a break from the dense crowds. Around midnight, they agreed to leave the festival grounds and go out for food. But their plan quickly shifted. Ritu started getting calls from home, so Prakhar asked Avinash to drop her off while he and Dharam waited for them. By splitting into pairs, Avinash was certainly isolated on his motorcycle. After dropping Ritu off, Avinash took a specific, solitary route back to meet his friends. He rode past Belgadia Palace, which led him directly into a heavily forested stretch of road sitting right next to a local Muslim cemetery. The contrast is absolute. You can stand shoulder to shoulder with millions of people under an umbrella of holy protection, and less than an hour later, find yourself entirely alone in the dark. Environmental protection evaporates the moment you step out of the light. As Avinash pushed through the forested road, the temperature rapidly plummeted. Without warning, his motorcycle engine stalled out completely, leaving him totally stranded under a single, violently fluctuating streetlight. He glanced across the street to check his phone for a cell signal and noticed a woman. She was wearing a white sari, sitting silently on a nearby bench. Avinash moved his bike closer to the light. He looked down at the pavement. The bench nearby cast a clear, distinct shadow, but neither Avinash nor his heavy motorcycle cast any shadow at all. Panic set in immediately. He dropped his motorcycle right there on the road and started sprinting toward the banyan tree where Prakhar was supposed to be waiting. This phenomenon is documented as a paranormal vacuum. By suspending local physics, like removing a shadow or plunging the temperature, the entity severs the target's connection to the physical, predictable world. This manufactured isolation leaves the victim vulnerable, stripping away the familiar logic they need to resist before the entity initiates direct contact. When Avinash finally reached the banyan tree, Prakhar was there, but he was acting strange. When he spoke, his voice was unusually soft, carrying a feminine tone. As they walked away, Avinash realized Prakhar's footsteps made absolutely no sound on the pavement. Instead of heading home, Prakhar insisted on taking a shortcut. He intentionally led Avinash far off their intended safe path, steering them directly into the darkness toward the Madhuban Road crematorium. Avinash finally demanded to know what was going on. Prakhar stopped and, in a deeply distorted voice, replied, "This isn't your friend." He then turned and began speaking directly to the same woman in the white sari Avinash had seen under the streetlight. The horror peaked moments later. Avinash caught up to Prakhar near the crematorium grounds, only to find him crouching in the dirt. He was pulling a corpse from the earth and actively chewing on the remains. Avinash turned and sprinted blindly down a narrow side alley. He ran with everything he had for nearly 20 minutes, but the walls kept stretching. He was trapped in a spatial loop, running at full speed without ever reaching the end of the street. To break the loop, Avinash forced himself to stop. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath to regulate his heart rate, and began mentally chanting the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, a Hindu prayer for overcoming death. The moment he opened his eyes, the alley ended. He stepped out onto a main road and was immediately struck by an oncoming car. The events on Madhuban Road suggest Avinash narrowly avoided a supernatural contagion, the same parasitic force that was currently overriding Prakhar's humanity. Days later, Avinash woke up in a hospital room. He learned that search parties had eventually found Prakhar lying unconscious in a neighborhood drain. He was alive, but violently deranged. Desperate for answers, Prakhar's family hired a local tantric, an occult practitioner. The tantric examined Prakhar and diagnosed the problem: a Brahma Rakshasa, a dangerous, demonic entity born from the corrupted spirit of a scholar, had taken residence inside him. Realizing the demon severely overpowered him, the tantric negotiated a dark contract for his own life. He redirected the threat onto an unprotected target, Prakhar's girlfriend, Ritu. He sacrificed her, binding her soul inside Prakhar to satisfy the entity's demand. This exposes the lethal mechanics of transactional dark magic. When a practitioner is vastly outmatched by a parasite, they don't actually cure the victim. They simply balance the equation by converting innocent bystanders into supernatural collateral damage. The ritual's consequences were immediate and catastrophic. The demon fully consumed Prakar's consciousness. He climbed to the 3rd floor of his home and jumped to his death. That exact same day, his sister was found dead in their bathroom. With the family decimated, a highly accomplished Baba, or spiritual master, was brought in. He set up a massive fire ritual known as a yajna directly on the cremation ground, tending to the flames continuously for an entire month. This prolonged yajna served a strict mechanical purpose. The Baba had to systematically break the tantric's dark contract, pacify the Brahma Rakshasa, and carefully burn away the corrupted spiritual energy that had infected the area. The ritual was ultimately successful in banishing the entities, but the aftermath was permanent. Prakar's parents lost 2 children, Avinash lost his closest friends, and Ritu was killed for helping. Supernatural entities operate on a cold, ruthless logic. You can be standing just miles away from one of the world's holiest celebrations, but the moment you step off the path and into the dark, you risk triggering a chain of destruction that no amount of subsequent magic can ever undo.